Hello everyone, in today's tutorial I am going to be showing you how to make this materialization or teleportation effect. So this effect was inspired by a teleportation shader from the This Space Banana website. So I really like this effect and I just wanted to create an effect similar to this using a different method. So if you want to check this out, I will leave a link in the description below. So here in this tutorial you can control this amount value to gradually dissolve the material like this. It is similar to our planar dissolved material, but different in a sense that in the planar dissolved material you couldn't extrude the vertices of the mesh like this. So in this method you can change the height, so it can look like this if you want, and also you can change the textures. So different textures give different effects. So a texture like this gives an effect like this. You can also test this with the texture from this starter content. So if I use this Perlin noise, it will look like this. And you can also change the fringe height or the fringe distance, so to control where the fringes appear. So now it looks like that. You can also change the color as always, and you can change the axis of the height. So you can change the axis like this and it looks like this. So this is what we are going to be making today. So for this, first we are going to create a material function. So right click, then materials and textures, then material function. I will name this mf.material. Then open it up. Then get a bounding box based UV. So this will give us a gradient from top to bottom like this. Now we need to move this gradient from top to bottom. So for that we will get an input function and call this amount. And imagine if we connect this to an opacity channel. So imagine if I connect this to opacity like this, then half of this won't be visible because that value will be below 0.5 and it will go to 0, so it won't be visible. But when the amount here is 0, so in this, if the amount is 0, we need to be able to see this portion which is from 0.5 to 0. So to get that, we will first multiply this with 2. So the 0 value will be 0, but the 1 value will be 2. And if we subtract this with 1, so the 1 value here, the 1 value will be 1 again because we subtract this with 1. So the 0 value will become -1 because we are subtracting -1 from 0. So 0 will be -1 and 0.5 will be, so here if we multiply 0.5 into 2 we will get 1, and if we subtract 1 from 1 will be 0. So the 0 value will be -1 and this value, the 0.5 value will be 1 and the 1 value will be 1. So that's why we are doing this here, because when this amount is 0 we just want all of the mesh to be visible. So now I will just 1 minus this because we want to move it from the top to bottom. Then I will get a subtract node and connect this here and connect this here, and if I connect this here, by changing this value, you can move the gradient up and down like that. So at 1 it will be fully 1. So when it is fully 1, we want it to be black. So for that we will just 1 minus this. So when this value is amount is 0, if we connect this to the opacity, it will be fully visible, and when the amount value is 1, if we connect this to the opacity, it won't be visible because it is 0. So this will control the movement of our gradient from top to bottom. So I will comment this and call this gradient. Then we will make the noise portion, this part. We are just going to make this part only. We don't really need to do this here in the material function. So for that we will go here and duplicate the scalar input and change this to noise 1. We just need it to be a scalar function and not a 3 vector, because we are just going to pass in grayscale values into this and not color values. So we just need it to be a scalar input, and I will set the sort priority to 1. Then I will duplicate this and I will set this sort priority to 2 and change the name to noise 2. Then I will get a multiply node and connect this here and connect this here. Then from this I will drag and type in subtract, and I will comment this and I will call this noise, and I will connect this here. So here what we are doing is that, so if I connect this to the opacity and click apply, you can see that if I change the amount value, we can see that noise pattern present in our, the noise pattern is present in our mesh. So here we are subtracting this noise pattern from this gradient. So imagine if this value is like 0.5, then when we subtract this noise from this gradient, the first one that will be affected will be the value which is close to 0, because we are subtracting that. So here only the top portion will be affected like this, and as we increase the gradient and as we increase the amount value, the black portion will move down, so then that portion will be affected, and so on. So with that we can just control how much of the mesh is affected by the noise like this. Now we will seal this. So this will round this value to the next integer. So imagine if this value is 0, we will get a 0 value from here, and if it is a value of 0.1, then we will get a value of 1, and 0.2 also give a value of 1, 0.5 also give a value of 1, and like that. So this we will connect to our opacity, so we will get a new output. So I will just duplicate this. I will change the name to opacity, and I will connect this to the opacity output. Then I will change the output name of this one to emissive. Now to get the emissive part, we will get a multiply, and we will connect this subtract here, and we will multiply this with this noise pattern. So I will show you what this looks like. So if I connect this subtract to this noise pattern with a multiply, and if I connect this to the emission color and disconnect the opacity mask, and if I click apply, you can see that as I move the amount value, the noise texture start to appear in the topmost portion of the mesh, and if I increase this, it will gradually move downwards. So here these values are close to 1 and these values are closer to 0. So with that we will get a lerp, and we will connect this to the alpha, and here we will get a new input node, and I will change this to vector 3, and I will name this emission color, and I will connect this to B. So when this value is 1, we will get this color, and if this value from here is 0, we will get a black color. So I will connect this to the emission now, like that. And if you want to control the fringe height, then we can get a subtract here and connect this here and connect this to the alpha, and we can duplicate a scalar input, and I will name this fringe height, and I will connect this to the subtract, and now I will change the sort priority of the emission color to 3, and I will change the sort priority of the fringe height to 4. So now we have something like this. So now this is what we have done now. So if I connect this to the emission color and click apply, you can see that as we increase the amount value, the emissive color is appearing on the mesh. So you can change the color like that. So now we will just comment this part and call this emissive. Now to control the world position offset of the mesh, we will just drag this here, and we will create 3 multiplies like this and connect all of this to the A, then get a vertex normal, and if I connect this vertex normal to this output and start previewing, this like this, you can see that depending on which way the mesh is facing, the color is like that. So you can see that if the mesh is facing in the up direction, it will have a blue value, and if it is in the forward direction, it will have a red value, and if it is facing the right direction, it will have a green value. So if you look behind, this will have a value of -1 for the green. So because it is facing in the left direction, and if I look at bottom, this will have a value of 0.1. This will have a value of -1 for the green channel because it is facing downwards. So we just want, here we only want the mesh to move in the up direction, and for that we will just clamp the negative direction out. Clamp the negative direction out like this. Now we need a input function to control the height. So we will right click and type in input, function input, then I will change this to a scalar input, then I will name this height, then I will connect this to B, and I will give a sort priority of 5 to this. And now to control the axis in which the mesh is being moved, we can duplicate this and I will name this axis, and I will change this to a 3 vector because we need x, y and z, and I will connect this to the B value. And now for the B of this multiply, I will connect this here and I will name this, and I will comment this WPO for world position offset, and I will just duplicate this and change the name to WPO and give a sort priority of 2, and I will connect this here and connect the value from the field to output opacity, then click apply. So I will show you what we have done here. So this is the part we have just made. So if I just connect this to the world position offset and click apply, so now you can see that it won't really work with a cylinder because it doesn't have enough vertices. But if I change this to a sphere, you can see that it is pushing the vertices in the up direction like this. So if I change the amount, we can control how much the vertices is being pushed up. Like that. And you can change the height with this. You can also change the axis if you want. So if I give a value of 1 to G, it will move in the right direction also, like that. So that's all we need to do for our material function. Now we will create our material. So I will just create a material and I will call this M material, and I will open this up. Then I will change the blend mode to masked, so that we get this opacity mask. Now I will just bring the material function in like this. Then I will connect the opacity to opacity mask, the emissive color to emissive color, and the world position to the world position offset. And for the amount, I will create a scalar parameter and I will name this amount. And for the emissive color, I will get a vector parameter and I will call this emissive color. And for the fringe height, I will get a new scalar parameter and I will call this fringe height. And for the axis, I will get a vector parameter and I will call this axis. For height, I will get a scalar parameter and I will call this height. Then for the textures, we will just create texture sample parameter 2D and I will name this noise 1, and I will duplicate this and call this noise 2. Then I will connect the red channel to the noise 2 and here the red channel to noise 1. We just need to pass the grayscale texture to the material function. Now I will get a texture coordinate by pressing and holding U and clicking. Then I will get 2 multiplies. Then I will connect this here and connect this here. Now I will get a new scalar parameter and I will call this tiling. This will help us control the tiling of the texture. Then connect this here and I will give a value of 1. Then for this I will give a value of 0.5 to prevent the overlapping of these two textures because we are multiplying them together here. Now we will get 2 panels and connect this here and connect this here and connect this here and connect this here. I will give this a value of 0.5 and 0.5, and for this I will give a value of -1 and -1. So it kind of moves in the opposite direction like this. Now click apply. You can also create a vector parameter for the base color like this. Then connect this to the base color. Then click apply. Then I will create a material instance from this. So M material, then create material instance, then open it up. So for the 2 textures, I will just select a random texture from the starter content. I will just select this Berlin noise like this. You can experiment with this. You can experiment with different textures. Now I will take all of this. And for the base color, I will give a gray color like that. And for the height, I will give a value of 1000. And for the axis, I will give a value of 1 to B. And for the MSC color, I will give a value of 55 for blue. So as you can see, there is some issues here. We can easily fix that by going into the material function, and all we have to do is clamp this value between 0 and 1 because some of this value is going below 0. That's why we can see this odd effect. So now if I click apply, that odd effect won't be there. Now if I change the color, you can see that the material is moving upward and it is disintegrating like that. Now you can change the fringe height to like 0.1 and it looks like this. Then we can change the color. I will give it a red color and give a value of 200 for red, and it now looks like this. And for the base color, I will change this to black and I will change the height to 400. So now if I move this up and down, you can see that it is kind of materializing and dematerializing. You can also use this for a teleportation effect, like when your character is being beamed up into the spaceship or something like that. So now if I just get the mannequin mesh, we can see how it is affecting it. And it kind of looks like this. So we need to clamp this amount value. So here we will give a value of 0 for slider min, and for slider max we will give a value of 1, then we will just apply. This will clamp this between 0 and 1. So now it will be easier to control this. Like this. So here in the middle we can see a spot. This is because it has a different material. So I will just decrease the height like 1500, and I will bring the mannequin mesh into the world. And I will apply our new material instance here. So now it looks like this. We can now control this. So here we can apply this material into the middle, and now it will be invisible, and it will work with the rest of the mesh like that. So I think that's it for this tutorial. If you like my tutorial, leave a like and subscribe. And if you want to support my channel and get the project files, you can check out my Patreon. The link will be in the description below. And thanks for watching guys. See you next time.